Will you be my daddy? The little boy's trembling voice broke through the quiet of the cafe. The man who had just stepped inside, a stranger to him, froze mid-step. His eyes widened in disbelief as the boy tugged at his sleeve, gazing up with the kind of innocence only a child could hold. For a heartbeat, the whole world seemed to stop. People who had been sipping their coffee, typing on laptops, and chatting casually went silent. At a corner table, a woman stood up abruptly. Her face went pale. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. She was stunning, elegant in a tailored suit that whispered of wealth and power. But in that moment, she looked vulnerable, stripped of the armor she wore every day. She was his mother, a billionaire CEO whose name was known across business magazines. But right now, she wasn't a tycoon. She was just a mother, shocked to her core. The stranger, still stunned, knelt down slowly to the boy's level. "What did you say?" he asked gently, almost afraid he had misheard. The boy's big, hopeful eyes shone with unshed tears. I just want a daddy. Will you be my daddy?" His small hands gripped the stranger's jacket as though afraid he might walk away. The mother gasped, finally finding her voice. "Ethan," she called, her tone sharp yet trembling. She rushed forward, heels clicking against the polished floor. She reached out to take her son's hand, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Sweetheart, you can't just say things like that to strangers." But the boy, Ethan, wouldn't let go. His tiny fingers clung tighter. He turned back to the stranger. "Please, Mommy always works, and I don't have anyone to play with. I just want someone to stay." The cafe fell into a thick silence. A few people looked away, uncomfortable, while others discreetly wiped tears from their eyes. The stranger's chest rose and fell heavily, as though he carried a weight no one else could see. And then, with a voice that cracked under the strain of emotions, he whispered, I can't believe this." Because this wasn't just any stranger. This was the man who once loved Ethan's mother more than life itself. The man who had walked away years ago, not knowing she carried his child. Years earlier, before the skyscrapers, the headlines, and the empire she built, she was just Anna, an ambitious, sharp-witted young woman with dreams that stretched further than the horizon. And beside her had been James, the man kneeling before her son right now. They had been inseparable, reckless with love, daring enough to think forever was theirs to claim. But life, with its cruel sense of timing, had pulled them apart. Choices were made, mistakes carved deep, and James disappeared from her world. Anna had buried the pain beneath layers of ambition, rising to become one of the most powerful women in the country. Yet in the quiet of her nights, when skyscraper windows reflected the city lights, she held her son close and whispered silent apologies for the father he never knew. And now, here he was, back, not by fate's quiet hand, but by the innocent plea of a little boy who only wanted what every child longed for: love, family, belonging.
"Anna!" James finally spoke her name, his voice hoarse with disbelief. His eyes lifted to meet hers, and she felt her heart stumble in her chest. Years had changed him. His face carried the lines of battles fought and lost, his shoulders broader, his presence heavier, but the core of him, the man she once knew, was still there. "James!" she breathed, her throat tight. Ethan blinked between them, sensing something he couldn't quite understand. "Mommy, do you know him?" Anna opened her mouth, then closed it. Her hands trembled as she smoothed her son's hair. "Yes, sweetheart. I know him." Her voice broke on the last word. The boy's eyes lit up with a joy so pure it pierced through both of them. "So he can be my daddy!" he declared with childlike certainty, a smile spreading across his face. Tears welled in Anna's eyes, unbidden. She tried to steady her voice. "Ethan, it's not that simple." But James, his chest aching as if years of regret were clawing their way out, whispered, "Maybe it is." From that moment, nothing was the same. James couldn't walk away, not after those words, not after realizing that the son he never knew had spent his short life longing for him. Anna tried to push him back, to shield herself and her boy from more heartbreak. But James was relentless, not out of pride, but out of love. He showed up, every day, bringing small things that weren't gifts, but gestures. Ethan's favorite comic book, a kite to fly in the park, homemade cookies because he remembered how Anna used to love them. And slowly, Ethan's laughter filled the spaces between them, stitching together what had once been torn apart. The city watched in whispers, how the untouchable CEO seemed softer now, how the stranger at her side wasn't just anyone, but a piece of her past returned. The media speculated, the board frowned, investors questioned, but Anna found herself caring less and less about headlines and more about the way Ethan's small hand fit into James's, the way his son's eyes sparkled with happiness she hadn't seen before. Still, fear clawed at her. "What if he leaves again?" she whispered one night when Ethan was asleep and James lingered at the door. James's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with sincerity. "Anna, I didn't know. If I had, God, if I had, I would have never left. But now I do, and I'm not going anywhere. Not again. Not ever." Her heart wavered, caught between the walls she built and the love she thought had died. The climax came on a rainy afternoon. Ethan had been playing near the edge of the park pond when he slipped, falling into the cold water. Panic erupted. Anna screamed, running as fast as her heels would allow, but James was faster. He dove in without hesitation, pulling the boy to safety, holding him tight against his chest. Ethan coughed, sputtering, then clung to James with all his might. His small voice cracked through sobs. "Don't let go, Daddy. Please don't let go." And in that moment, the last piece of doubt shattered. Anna fell to her knees beside them, tears mixing with the rain. She wrapped her arms around both of them, trembling as she whispered, "I can't lose either of you again." James pressed his forehead to hers, his arms encircling both mother and child. "You won't. I swear you won't." What began as a stranger's encounter in a cafe became the rebirth of a family. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. Ethan no longer whispered his wish in desperation. He shouted in laughter, in the way he ran into James's arms, in the way he proudly told anyone who would listen, "This is my daddy." And Anna, once the untouchable billionaire, found herself rediscovering the woman she had buried beneath her empire, the woman who could love, who could hope, who could finally let herself believe in second chances. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't written in boardrooms or skyscrapers, but in the simple, trembling words of a child. "Will you be my daddy?" And the answer, at long last, was yes.